Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation. My name is Dave Woodrelli. That is Patrick Johnston, sitting in the co-host chair here at the iconic Sheraton Wall Center. Not a huge fan of Blake Price's chair.
No, it's fine. I have to pick. Are you telling me I have to pick one of these guys? But this is also where Matt sits.
It is where Matt sits, but as our pal Matt Scaris knows, I switch the chairs every day. And then they have to switch them back every day because Matt likes this chair, but I also like this chair. Matt has good taste in chairs,
Matt,
I'll say that.
To be clear, I have nothing to do with this.
No, you don't.
Entirely young David's decision.
Yeah, I walked in and moved the chairs immediately. But thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it.
It's a slice. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Our technical producer is Grady Sass. Lots to get to on this edition of Canucks Conversation. Okay, I'm just going to get this off the top. When do your decorations go up for Christmas in your household?
Well, I mean, I think we had a slow rollout this year. We didn't end up, we've since we've had kids, we seem to sort of get the tree on like December 1st kind of thing. Also because we go to a local lot at Leo's.
Oh, you get a real tree.
We get a real tree. So
Nice.
Those lots tend to run out faster now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean like first week of December, it seems to be what we did this year. I think we got some stuff up, and then it was like Monday we got the tree, and yeah. So
usually it's November 12th for me and my girlfriend,
crazy.
But we did November 1st this year. Because we both had to work.
Oh, because Halloween was over and it's time to move on.
Immediately we got the Christmas decorations out, and I've talked about this on the show before. So this is what I'm building towards, is that I'm in the Christmas spirit on November 1st, and it's almost like it's almost like a Christmas spirit.
There we go.
It's almost like I need to hit my second wind, which I haven't hit until I think today. Like today, you came into the office, I was blaring Christmas music. I had it going while I was doing my work. I've hit my second wind of Christmas, where I'm really ready to go for
You're
it.
A madman, David.
Yeah, and today, that's the title of today's episode: All the Canucks Want for Christmas. And I thought that would be a fun way for us to start today. But before we do that, we need to talk about another passion of you and I. HSBC World Rugby Sevens, Western Canada's largest sporting event, and this year is the 9th time the event has visited Vancouver as part of the World Rugby Sevens series, HSBC Vancouver Sevens, where high caliber rugby and the ultimate party weekend collide. SVNS truly is a sporting event like no other, and a weekend you won't want to miss. For 3 full days from February 23rd to 25th, BC Place is going to be the place to be. 12 women's, 12 men's sevens teams, including 2 Canadian squads, take to the pitch for 3 full days of jam-packed rugby and partying. Tickets on sale now at vansevens.com, starting from just $40 per day.
David, what do you go dressed as? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Oh, of course. I asked this to I've asked to Irf, I asked to Harman.
I mean, Irf would just go dressed as himself.
Yeah,
like that's party guy.
Literally, that's what he said yesterday.
I'm Irf. I'm here.
I'm Irf. I'm
Grady,
here.
Grady, I think Grady. Well, I mean, would you bring back hot sauce man? Would Grady bring back hot sauce man?
Yeah, I would go as a giant pepper with a bunch of bottles taped to me, ready to chug.
I think I would do the banana. I think a banana costume really
safe. That's a safe bet.
It tells everybody like, hey, I'm a fun guy.
You're slippery.
I'm slippery.
Watch out.
Full of potassium.
Watch out, and I'm full of potassium. How about you? You've obviously gone.
I've only ever gone as a rugby journalist, so I don't know.
So what do you wear for that costume?
What you see? My JD Burke tribute hat. Yeah, no, I think. Well, one year a bunch of buddies went as Guy Fieri's. They were all had the wigs on. That was pretty good. Yeah. That was a year I definitely felt left out.
I think we're gonna have some rugby guests on the show in the lead up from Team Canada. So I think we'll have to have you back as a co-host.
If you have Phil Berna on, you have to ask him about getting coached by me, because it's a trick question.
Okay, where did you coach rugby?
I coached at Kits, and then I coached the Van West U16s for 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so when you had the 16-year-olds.
No. But I'm saying, like, ask Phil about that experience.
I will, but I'm going to ask you a question about coaching rugby.
Okay.
Maybe it was because I was 14 when I played rugby.
Yeah.
Did everybody laugh when you described the hooker position?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, yes, but they already seem to know about it when they show up. So.
I still laugh at that. Still makes me laugh. Anyways, okay, actually,
David, prepare a 14-year-old boy.
This is
been confirmed.
This is a good transition, actually, because yesterday the Canucks had a little holiday skate for media, and we had a blast.
Yeah, people want to hear about our lives.
No. But this is the transition.
Come here for.
I always find it so interesting in rugby how there's so much respect for the referee, and it's always you call them sir and all that sort of stuff. I noticed this on the Canucks bench, and pull this up, Grady. And for those on the podcast, I'll describe it. The Canucks on their bench, all through the bench, have the first names of the referees written down. Yeah. I find that so interesting. I think that's so cool. Is this a regular thing that everybody knows about except for me?
No, I'm not surprised to see that they have that noted down. I just think that's an item that the coach wants to know. Who's this guy? Who's 46?
Okay, so now I'm wondering, is this a Taka thing or was this around with Travis?
I think most coaches are like that.
Interesting.
Whether they have it taped on the bench, I can't say, but I certainly have seen. I mean, I can't cite one off the top of my head, but I've certainly seen examples.
Interesting. I'm going to ask
coaches having notes like that, like who are the officials tonight? Someone knows.
I like it. I'm going to ask Rick about it if that's
I think that's a great Dave. That'd be a great question. Take us behind the scenes. That's what fans want to know.
I think Talk It listens to every
little journalism lesson for you.
Yeah, I think Talk It listens to every episode.
I'm sure he does.
So hopefully he has his answer ready to go. Okay, a little fun exercise for us before we preview the Vancouver Canucks against the Dallas Stars. That's going to be our last segment today. Our first segment is All I Want for Christmas. Pat, obviously you know Santa's real.
Yeah.
What do you want Santa Claus to leave under the tree at Rogers Arena for those Vancouver Canucks?
Well, let's go for the big present. Like, let's just lead off. They want that second line, second top six forward. I think that's the realistic chase.
Yep.
I don't know how. I mean, obviously they want a defenseman, but yeah, top six forward, top six forward.
I was looking around at this
under the tree.
I was looking around at this because you need it under the tree, so it doesn't mean that you're spending to get it. Like, Santa Claus isn't demanding a first round pick.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. We were talking about like your dream gift.
Yeah, I think it's Elias Lindholm. Put Elias Lindholm under the tree at Rogers Arena.
That's bold.
How is that bold? Think about it this way, okay?
I mean, it's the kind of guy they need. You're absolutely right. I'm just saying, I just don't know how they didn't. If you want to talk about cost,
I just said Santa's not
mom and dad.
Santa doesn't collect first round picks. Yeah. You leave out some cookies and you're good.
Ask your no about getting you presents.
If there's no cost, like there's going to be a cost. He's probably going to be the biggest trade deadline target, I would say. Pending UFA at $4.85 million for this year. It would be hard for the Canucks to fit him in, and obviously that acquisition cost is going to push you away. But if you could have anything for Christmas, it's a play-driving winger to play with Elias Pettersson. And for Elias Lindholm, if you go acquire him, all of a sudden you have, and I was talking about this with Irf yesterday about how they've been using JT Miller in the matchup role over Elias Pettersson all season long. And one thing Irf cited was, don't discount that JT Miller is better than Elias Pettersson at faceoffs. Elias Lindholm would really clean that up if you go to the lotto line formation where, and Elias Lindholm's great defensively, don't get me wrong. But I mean, if you have Elias Lindholm,
he gets legit Selke votes.
Absolutely. I had him on my ballot 2 years ago. If Elias Lindholm's out there to take the faceoff, you have two guys who can play the defensive role of a center if you need them to, just like they had with the lotto line where JT Miller would take the draws and Elias Pettersson would rotate and become the center on that line. So it's a fit. It's a fit, and it's exactly the kind of guy they need.
The thing, though, I would say at the same time is that, what's the incremental gain over, like, I don't know, Pia Suter? You've kind of already done that by having Suter there as an extra option to take draws. And Pettersson, your guy Pettersson, as you've revealed before, stiffer stick, wanted to win more faceoffs, right, David? Is that remember your story?
I do.
There is that he wants to be better. He is definitely better on faceoffs. You're absolutely right. Like, not every faceoff matters, right? But some do matter a lot. And so finding another guy to take those high leverage draws, I totally get that. I absolutely get that. I'm just not 100% convinced that, Lindholm. I mean, Lindholm is the kind of guy, but like, is that the only reason to get him? Is there someone else who's
as useful, similarly feel that?
Yeah, much. I don't know. I do think the current Suter experiment, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah,
I think you still would rather have him down the lineup. I'd rather have a forward, because what are you replacing? You're not replacing Pia Suter. You're replacing like Nils Oman.
Yeah,
like a guy that's going to take over in that top six, push Suter back to the third or fourth line, like where you really ideally want him to be. Because that's when you're in the Canucks' position, that's what you want to be doing, right? You want to add guys to the top that pushes people down.
Exactly, and that's what good teams have, and that's depth, right? Like that's depth, and you need that during the playoffs. And the one thing I'll say is, as much as we're talking about how this team is a wagon and they're going to the President's Trophy, they're going to the Cup final, like, just imagine, and knock on wood, wherever you want it, folks, just imagine you're in a playoff round and you lose a top 6 center. Hell, imagine you lose Teddy Bluger.
Exactly.
Imagine you lose Teddy Bluger or any center.
And that's in 2011, right? Like that's the story. It wasn't they added Max Lapierre. They were always wanted to add Max Lapierre, and it was good they had Max Lapierre because they lost Manu Malhotra, right?
Yep.
Like that's why you do stuff like that. Ideally, obviously, you have everybody in the lineup, and that's what you're trying to build. And you're trying to build this maximum roster flexibility.
Yeah.
And having more guys who can play at the top is better because that means some of them are going to play down the lineup.
Grady had something for us.
I'm going to steal this from one Blake Price today. He was floating the name Jake Gensel. Now, when you first hear that, you're like, whoa, that's big game hunting. But to me, that depends on where the Penguins are going to be at closer to the deadline. He's a pending UFA. Tocchet, obviously familiar with him. Same thing with Rutherford Alvin. Really all depends on where they are in the standings. If Pittsburgh is willing to sell pieces off. Now, he is a winger. He's not going to be playing in the center spot. Blake floated, a potential Kuzmenko plus whatever else you have to add on to that. That might be too rich. A guy that I mentioned last week, Lawson Krause, another guy that played for Rick Tocchet. Now, just like Pittsburgh, where's Arizona going to be at the deadline? I've seen some people float out the name Travis Konecny in Philly. Of course, they're in a playoff spot. So it's such a tough year this year because the middle to lower end of the standings, there's a logjam, and how many teams are really going to actually be sellers come the deadline. So
that's a really good point, Grady.
You got to find to kind of fit those prototypes that are going to fit into a Tocchet system.
Yeah.
I think all three of those guys would, but you're going to have to pay an arm and leg for them.
And
Good thing with Krause is he's got some term, whereas Gensel's UFA.
Yeah.
I think Konecny's got some time left too. So,
I mean, the thing with a guy like Guentzel, though, obviously he'll be probably, if he gets traded, he would be pursued after trade chip. But at the same time, the fact he's UFA lowers the price.
Yeah. I wonder what it would cost. And the Kuzmenko swap idea, I just find that curious. You'd obviously have to add pretty significant.
Yeah. I mean, I think I am a big fan of Andrei Kuzmenko as a personality. I enjoyed watching him play this year, but two things have really started to stand out to me, and that's the foot speed aspect. And I mean, Corey Schneider, shutdown line, who's done great data tracking for years, pushing out a graphic today pointing out basically who is and who isn't creating things, creating scoring chances. And Kuzmenko's bottom of the pile.
Yep.
Like he's just not creating anything. And I think some of that is maybe related to the foot speed. Maybe that's lack of confidence, whatever it is. But there's a player that I think teams understand a lot better than they did last year. And the challenge is now on him, right? Like that is in many ways what Rick Tocchet has been pointing out as well, is like Kuzmenko's got to figure out these are the skills he has. He's going to have to figure out a way to make himself more useful. Because right now, I mean, 2 games in a row now, we're saying, well, he's not as useful as Phil Giuseppe. Like that's a pretty big statement. And when one team is thinking that way, you're not selling high on that player to anybody else.
So Cody Severson just wrote it for Canucks Army. It's not published yet. He just told me about it and I saw the title. But he dove into the NHL edge stats with Phil Giuseppe and Andrei Kuzmenko. And him and I were just texting about it. And we're going to preview the game shortly, folks. But spoiler alert, Andrei Kuzmenko was out of the lineup once again in Dallas with the Canucks, electing to go with Phil Giuseppe. And basically, Cody broke down why Phil Giuseppe got that shot. And when Cody and I were texting about it, he just said, like, NHL Edge is just showing that Phil Giuseppe is hustling way harder than Kuzmenko has all season. And again, I haven't read it. It's not published yet because we ran out of time to publish it. We just ran out of time.
I mean, there's enough stuff that you can point to, whether it's data or just watching, right? Like you can just watch Giuseppe. That he, his finishing isn't there. He's not as a creative, puck handler. But the thing he does really well. And I wrote a story about this. Can I hype my own stuff?
Of course, yeah.
At theprovince.com earlier this year. Phil Giuseppe is the best forechecker on the Canucks.
Yep.
Like that is his skill. That's what's got him in the lineup. And had him on the Miller Besser line to start the season.
And it's what's got Niels Höglander on that line right now too.
And he's got he's put the package together. He's got the hands. He's got the hands and he probably has better wheels. But Giuseppe, like that makes you see it, and then you look at the numbers and you can see the difference, and you can see the things he does. And like Kuzmenko's not that player. Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the challenge in all this. And the way he was attached to the hip with Pettersson last year, like he could finish. The number of goals he scored. I mean, obviously we know he was never going to score at the rate he scored at last year, but I still thought coming into the season he'd be a 20, 25 goal scorer because of things. He was such a good finisher right in front of the net. He was amazing at tipping the puck. And neither of those elements have really been much evidence this year. And we're seeing in the numbers, it's not even that he's not playing as much. It's that even when he's on the ice, nothing's happening. And that's something he needs to figure his way out of. Dan Milstein taking the high road. I mean, I texted with him, shout out Josh Griffiths for getting the quote, but like I texted with Dan as well. And Dan's like, yeah, no, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Yep. Taking the high road. He's like, I believe in my player. He's obviously, I don't imagine this is the first time he's faced adversity or had to figure things out. You look at the course of his career in Russia, the last couple of years were very successful. And I think a lot of it was down to him finding his game, working on his game. Like he's got high, he knows how to do it. It's just now going out and doing it.
Yeah, I found it interesting that stat you cited from Corey Schneider, not the Canucks backup goalie. You're telling me. I'm not sure you're telling the truth, but that stat was so interesting because it almost highlights that Elias Pettersson needs the opposite of Andrei Kuzmenko right now on his line. And that's a play driving winger, somebody that can get him the puck, somebody that can create that offense where Pettersson has a chance to be the finisher on that line at times. And, obviously Kuzmenko just hasn't had that this year. So for my all I want for Christmas, as we loop it back to this loosely constructed segment, my number one wish for Santa to leave under the tree at Rogers Arena is a winger for Elias Pettersson. A play-driving winger for Elias Pettersson.
You're getting really specific. Like I said, I just wanted a top six.
I don't want... Why?
Okay. No, that's fine. No, I love it. And I'm just saying, you want something specific.
I do. I want it for Elias Pettersson.
Okay.
I want it for Elias Pettersson, and the reason I want Elias Lindholm is so that Elias Pettersson can start to play matchup role, and I don't have to hear about this JT Miller, blah, 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 all this stuff. Anyways.
I love it.
Yeah. All I want for Christmas is for Santa to make people shut up. Okay, we're gonna get to. Do you have anything else that you wanted to get to for the All I Want for Christmas?
I think that nails it.
We're gonna get to anyone else presented by our friends at DoorDash, but quickly, I have to tell you because this is urgent, folks. I have to tell you about the VGH Millionaire Lottery. You have until midnight, Friday, December 22nd, to get in on 51 early bird draws in the VGH Millionaire Lottery. These early bird draws are worth more than $200,000. Win an Audi e-tron GT or a private jet experience that includes 20 grand in cash or $125,000 plus 50 winners will win 1,000. With your VGH Millionaire Lottery tickets, you get in to win one of 10 grand prize options, or you can take $2.7 million in tax-free cash. Don't forget to get your 50/50 plus tickets. Every ticket purchase supports VGH and the UBC Hospital Foundation. Order in person at Lund Drugs or online at millionairelottery.com. 19 plus to play. Know your limit. Play within it. And now I have to do another ad read for DoorDash because it's time for anyone else presented by our friends at DoorDash. It's our listeners' chance to get involved and hit us up in the YouTube live chat. It's also our listeners' chance to get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more. That's right. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when they download the DoorDash app and enter code NATION25. That's all capital letters, NATION, and the numbers 25. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms do apply. Get your anyone else's in, folks. We're doing the segment a little bit early today. I had an anyone else curious what the Canucks are going to do for Saturday's reindeer games during the first intermission, featuring the Canucks players' dogs. In past years, it's been the top dog race where the dogs start at the red line and they race red line to red line. And Delilah Demko, my goodness, I'm convinced that Thatcher Demko is taking what he's learning from Ian Clark and applying it to his dog training because my goodness, Delilah Demko can motor like that. You've seen those videos of the Great American Kennel Club or whatever it's called, where the greyhounds are just like going and I knock off my headphones there. But like Delilah Demko can move.
Is it possible they're changing, like they're going away from the race because Delilah was winning too much?
Yeah.
And they feel bad. They feel bad for the other dogs.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
They could maybe they're doing agility races, things like that. Like, can they go through the sticks?
Because Delilah would mow with that too.
Are they
right?
doing a demonstrate? I'm sure there's new dogs involved, right? Maybe one of the new dogs is really good at catching frisbees, or frisbee catch.
Is it mean to say that sometimes I notice certain players had dogs with similar bad habits that they have on the ice?
That's really digging into it, Dave.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the dog analysis and start ripping the dogs and their owners. But I'm curious what this event's gonna look like, because I was thinking about if my dog was in it, if little Bert was in it. Look, he's quick. He's real quick for a little guy. Like, he's really fast, but I don't think he could beat Delilah, right? Delilah's got the long legs. Delilah's gonna crush that race again. So I think they might have changed it, because if you put Bert in a sniffing contest, like, Bert's really good at that. Like, if you cover stuff and there's a treat under one thing and there's something he can smell, he's good at like identifying it. And I taught him the drug dog thing because I got tired of losing his balls in the apartment. So if he loses a ball under the couch or under the countertops, he'll just go lie down in front of it, because that's how drug dogs identify when they see drugs. So I saw how they train the drug dogs, and I basically taught him how to do that whenever he loses a toy underneath something, because I was cleaning under the couch. I found like 5 balls, and I'm like, these are where these are all going. So now if he loses a ball, he goes and lies down and waits for me to see him lying down, and then I go get his ball. But he'd be good at that. But that's it.
I've never thought. I mean, my mom used to have a dog, and she probably would have done like running fast in circles if they had a competition for that. She would have been good. But no, I don't want. I just want to see them. I want to see them. I want to see their dogs, and I want to see what they can do. And I'm excited. I am excited. Credit to the Canucks for trying new different things. They've done this a few times this year. Yeah. Switch it up. Let's go.
Yeah. I think I owe Wyatt a game because there was some controversy on this set. We were talking about it the day of the Luongo bobblehead night. I read Wyatt and I's text.
Oh, is that what you remember it as? The Luongo bobblehead night?
Well,
nothing else happened.
Because I'm giving Wyatt the bobblehead.
They gave out bobbleheads.
I'm giving Wyatt the bobblehead because he deserves it. He deserves it. But I think I owe Wyatt a fun game. And look, Sharks in town right before Christmas. If there's any day where Rick talk it, where the players are just going to be in the best mood possible for Wyatt and his questions that he wants to ask, there's the game right there. And you get to see the dogs race. I think I'm going to give this one to Wyatt, but we'll see. I'm excited to see what this reindeer games is, man. I've been looking at, I saw they posted it today. The reindeer games. I'm really curious what it's going to be.
Really?
Yeah. Are you not excited about it?
Not really.
You're going to sit there and watch the San Jose Sharks play the Vancouver Canucks, and that's what you're going to pay attention to?
I'm if you really want me, if you want me to talk about things that I'm feeling selfish about, I'm ready for Christmas break to start.
That's fair.
So I just mean, if I'm being really cruel-hearted and cold, it's the reindeer games delay us that much from getting to the end. Like they're I want to get to the end.
Wow.
No, I don't actually. I'm
humbug.
I won't. You know me, David.
Are you the guy that's booing the Timbits minor hockey players?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can't. I cheer those kids on. As I've told many people, I scored my first goal in intermission at a Canucks game in 1989.
Break down the play for us. I don't remember.
I didn't. Zero work. I pushed off from the bench, glided, managed to get to the net. I was playing online with a guy named Ryan Thrussell, who did all the work.
That sounded like me and you passing pucks to each other.
I banged in the rebound. I banged in the loose puck, my first ever goal. My dad said 10,000 people cheered for me. It's all downhill from there.
I got to shoot a puck for the first time on ice in my life yesterday at Rogers Arena.
Didn't fall over.
No, I didn't. And I was shooting left-handed, and I'm right-handed because they only had Anthony Bovilli and Travis Dermott sticks was all we had.
Oh, the other stick was a Dermott stick.
Yeah, it was Dermott. Yeah, because they were both my height.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, anyone else? Do we have any in here, Grady? Oh, yeah, we do. Grady's put them in the chat, and we've ignored them. Okay, this one is from Elton C., who's responding to our question about Christmas presents for the Vancouver Canucks. Consistent defense, capitalization on the power play, and depth. Hey, Pat, let's talk about that a little bit. Are you at all worried about the Vancouver Canucks power play?
No.
No? Why is that? Because JT Miller has been for 3 weeks.
Yeah, but he's worried about everything, to his credit.
So you're not worried at all?
No. I mean,
it cost them in Minnesota.
They have a league-leading power play. I'm not worried about their power play. Yes.
But look at their power play over the past 3 weeks is my point.
No. Let me put it this way. As I have done every year since Quinn Hughes joined this team. So this is going on 4 years now. Mm-hmm. And around this time, in fact, I asked Quinn, we were in Minnesota. I said, Quinn, a lot of people have been saying they're worried about your power play. What do you say? And he goes,
shut up, Quads.
He basically was just like, we'll be fine. We were good before. We'll be good again. It was very zen. I'm not worried about their power play.
That's a good answer from a future captain.
Yeah, okay. It was brilliant. I'm not worried about him at all.
This one from Karan.
At all.
And I'll pose it to you, Patrick. Does it feel
Karen.
like JT? No, I've been corrected. Trust me. I called him Karen once, and I got corrected for that.
Okay.
Yeah. This one from Karan. Does it feel like JT has lost that strong defensive play from earlier in the season? Maybe they are leaning too hard on him in a matchup role.
Well, we know that historically he has not been a great defensive player. The one thing I would point out is that we have not seen the same amount of sort of gaffes that we have seen in past years. And I'm not just talking about like the video in Calgary last year of him, the terrible back check. I'm thinking about the bad turnovers on breakouts, the passes to the wrong stick. We just haven't seen as many of those. I last week, last Thursday, I was the guy after the game that said, "Hey, listen, you didn't play a lot tonight. Is that going to help you over the next week?" That's all I was going for. I wasn't actually kind of going, "Hey, I didn't think you played, bro." I didn't actually think he played that badly.
No, yeah.
But he came out and said I was awful or thereabouts, and was really hard on him and his line and said quite clearly, we need to be better. We thank goodness the rest of the team picked up the slack, but like if we're going to be the matchup line, we have to be better. So I think he agrees with Karan. Like,
yeah, that's actually a great way to put it.
He agrees with your assessment. You want players to be getting better. I mean, we heard Rick Tocchet talk the other day about the lot of meetings. We know JT Miller seems to enjoy these meetings.
Big meeting guy.
He's a big meeting guy. I would say on the whole, like I've never thought, oh wow, what a great. Let me put it this way: I've never said, oh man, JT Miller was absolutely dominant defensively. But my assessment is like this for most players. Did they do anything? You went, oh man, what a mess, right? And he hasn't had that.
And a lot of times he did in the past.
Yeah, and he hasn't had that. So on the whole, I would say on the whole, he is improved. Whether he's not playing as well lately, sure, I could buy that. Partly because I think it's inevitable given how I think fatigue. I mean, they're coming to an end of an incredible run of games, right? Like every other night, basically since the end of October. And when you only have one day off between games, like that's really hard to recover. The demands on the body that an NHL game puts on you, and certainly we know that part of what Rick Tocchet is trying to do is he tried to design a system that will make things. When he says predictable, he really means he doesn't want guys to do anything more than they have to, but he wants them to do what they have to, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And a lot of that is that repeatability, doing things over and over and over again. But the longer you do that, inevitably, the more tired you get. And when you get tired, you make more mistakes. And so, it's not really a half credit answer, but I would not have been surprised if we had seen mistakes creep into Miller's game. I have no doubt there's small little ones that you find on endless video review, but in the big picture, I think he's doing fine. And look at how much time off the Canucks are going to have in the next,
like as of tomorrow,
right? Yeah. Like they fly home, they've got the game on Saturday, they're off till they're actually
January 2nd.
Well, they play one game, right? They play on next Thursday, but I'm just saying, like they're actually literally off the ice until next Wednesday.
Yes.
And so they have a bunch of days off, then they have a game, then they're off for a bunch more days, right? Like they've got one game in a week, and that's going to do wonders for the recovery. They obviously go out on that huge tough road trip in January, but then they get more time off.
Yep.
They have come through such a gauntlet that overall, like if they don't come out in January out of this with an incredibly good record, then it's time to be worried. I'm not, even if I were perceiving issues in Miller's game, like big picture things, I wouldn't be worried right now. I will be worried in a month.
I like that. I like that take. Okay, here's one I want to throw.
I just wanted to chime in quickly on that, PJ. And then when we talked about this a little bit with Lindholm, with the trade possibility, do you think this team needs a true shutdown center kind of going down into the stretch run into the playoffs? Or do you think they can get by with Miller, Suter, and Bluger? Because we haven't really had enough of a sample with all three of those guys in the lineup together, right?
Well, I mean, it's not just about obviously the one guy anymore. It's about how well you're playing your system. And as I think we've all observed, right? Like the way the Canucks just haven't been breaking down defensively the same way they did last year or the year before. The cross ice pass, when those cross ice passes get through from the other team, we notice them because they've been so rare. And that is what I would say overall is the issue. I think I absolutely get the idea of I mean, that goes back to what I said before. You just want to add more guys, right? And I think that's why Lindholm makes your team, or a guy like Lindholm would make your team better. But I also like your point, Grady. Like, I am interested to see if they can get a bit of a go here with all those guys in the lineup. They haven't had that, how it works. Obviously they've taken Miller off the penalty kill, right? Like, that's an example. Will that make the penalty kill that much better? And that's what we're going to see. I mean, I think that's the interesting things to see, especially as the season wears on. And like I said, they've come through this hard stretch. Now they have a chance to actually kind of leverage some of that rest. And how will Tocchet use that? And will Miller get back involved in the penalty kill, or is that era over?
And I'd be curious too to see if they go back to Petey at all in a line matching role.
I mean,
or at least rotate him here and there, right? But then you have to wonder, okay, is he playing with Kuzmenko, or is he getting Lafferty, Mikheyev?
He needs more from his wingers. That's the conversation.
But Mikheyev can play that kind of defensive matchup role. So
Mikheyev can do that, and Suter can do that. Like, that line as it's set up is a great two-way line. But you're right, Quads. Like, you want. I think P.S. Suter is a really cool experiment. But if Andrei Kuzmenko is not going to be the guy there, you got to find somebody else.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why Santa Claus come through. This
Phil
one.
Kessel.
There you go. We threw it out. Logan Van Dyke, got it right that time, asked, can we just ask Santa to lace them up for the Canucks? Buddy lives at the North Pole. Yeah. He's got to be a beast on ice. Santa will be at the game on Saturday. Again, I don't know why I'm sending Wyatt to this game. I guess I do really owe him.
You should have thought ahead.
I should have, because I'm missing Santa. He missed Luongo. I missed Santa. You tell me which is worse.
You know what? I've already given you my thoughts on that. The game.
Okay, this one. If Kuzmenko doesn't play the Sharks game, he's in serious trouble. I think I agree with that. Like,
if you can't even get in against the Sharks. I mean, obviously the Sharks have improved their play, but like, they're still
the worst possible outcome for Andrei Kuzmenko tonight is the line of Nils Amon, Sam Lafferty, and Phil Giuseppe puts up like 3 goals at even strength. That's the worst possible outcome for Andrei Kuzmenko.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I'm obviously exaggerating, but if that line does have a good game, like all 3 of those guys legitimately have a really solid game, especially at 5-on-5, that's where I keep coming back to, Pat, is against Nashville. It wasn't like Tocchet was trying to send a message. It was, no, this is my best lineup to beat a team that has won 13 of their last 16 games. Dallas is equally hot. And as I say that, let's transition out of anyone else and into our preview of this evening's game against the Dallas Stars, because they are also a pretty hot team as of late. Jake Ottinger's not going to be in net for them tonight, so that should help the Canucks. But again, another really solid team that you're looking at it if you're Rick Tocchet and saying, yeah, I know what I'm getting from Phil Giuseppe on that 4th line at 5-on-5. And hey, you know what? Our power play wasn't doing too well with Kuzmenko. So what have you done for me lately? Not very much. Phil Giuseppe in the lineup tonight. Andrei Kuzmenko is not. And I find that, again, when your coach is icing his best lineup and he views that as without the guy that you just extended on a 2-year deal, that's not good for the organization. But also, I'm not trying to pin blame on anybody here. It's just a bad situation right now all around, because look, Rick Tocchet's not wrong when he says my best lineup is one that doesn't include Andrei Kuzmenko. He's clearly not wrong. He's clearly not wrong. They beat the Nashville Predators and they might just beat the Dallas Stars tonight. We'll get to that in my bet way better the day.
Why would you even mess with a winning lineup, right? And
especially one that won like they won the way they did in Nashville.
And playing a team like Dallas, who's heavier, who's pretty good defensively, and who's going to be in the mix as one of the top dogs in the West. So I totally get it.
Yeah, and the team that's playing as well. I mean, they got 5 guys on heaters right now.
Yeah.
Right. Like Marchment, Sagan, Dodonov, Duchesne, Harley all have points in 3 or 4 of their last games.
Yeah.
At least 3 of their last games. Like, this is a team that is, there's a reason why playing in Dallas is always tough. And it's because the Stars are good and because they have a lot of depth in that lineup. I've always been a big admirer of the way they play, no matter who the coach has been. But Pete DeBoer, I mean, Rick Tocchet isn't the only big fan of Pete DeBoer coach teams. I really enjoy watching him play. They're really detailed and they really push you at all times. I mean, they play the way Tocchet really wants his team to be. You know, he said this morning he didn't want to make it a measuring stick, but I mean, this is yet another measuring stick. Canucks have feasted on bad teams in this league.
Yep.
they've struggled against better teams, but this is the kind of matchup that you can get a sense of where they are right now and where they want to get to and how far along they are towards that destination.
Thatcher Demko starts. The last time he started against the Dallas Stars, he pitched a shutout. So we will see how he does tonight on this measuring stick. I hope I didn't just jinx it. That
That's
doesn't
all right.
count.
Don't worry
Doesn't
about it.
count, I don't think.
Don't worry.
Okay, some quick stats that I pulled up just looking back at the recent history between these two teams. The Canucks haven't lost to the Stars since 2019. Did you know that?
What?
They haven't lost to the Stars since 2019.
In Dallas?
No, at all. Was
the last time they lost the midday game on a Saturday?
I didn't look that up.
I was there. That's why I can't believe it's that long ago.
It checks out that
Wow.
you would have been there because it was November 19th in Dallas.
No,
I don't know the
Oh
start
no, I
time.
wasn't at that game, but 2019. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. That was the last time they lost. Grady, fact check that real quick.
Mine. No,
I'm on it. I'm on
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Cody
they
had
didn't-
that
they
tweet
didn't-
today.
they didn't-
I thought so.
Yeah, that's
So-
amazing.
I looked up some things that were happening during that time.
Oh,
Sucker by Jonas Brothers. You know that song?
I'm a sucker for you.
That was a
Oh, yeah, that
can
one.
you sing, Grady? That
Wow.
was pretty good.
that was Drance like.
Yeah, that was really good. Trans. Anyways, yeah, that was the top song. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that movie that I haven't seen.
What?
No, I haven't seen it.
Come on, quads.
You know I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Come on, quads.
Everyone was getting their learner's permits,
Congrats, quads.
learning how to shave for the first time.
No way.
Just looking at that game log, they have beat them, handsomely too.
Yep.
What was it? 8 games in a row?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're all been more than 1 goal wins.
Yep.
Except for one of them. So
Canucks played the Stars twice that season in 2019-20, losing both times. November 14th, they lose 4-2, and then just a few days later,
that's the home game.
6-1.
That's the home game I'm thinking of.
Yeah. 6-1. Bo Horvat scored the lone goal as the Stars get 2 goals from Jamie Benn, Miro Heiskanen, Taylor Fridun, Corey Perry, and former Canuck Justin Dowling.
Taylor Fridun's a former Canuck.
Yeah, but Justin Dowling is more recent.
More interesting.
Way more interesting.
Yeah.
I like Justin Dowling.
Thursday night. I don't know what game I'm thinking of then. Anyway.
And then they were due to play them one last time that season on March 30th, but it did not happen.
That's too bad.
And they would have had Tyler Toffoli in that game.
They had Tyler Toffoli. Maybe that there was, just in case anybody cares, that season there was going to be a fourth. That was they wore the skate, but like the throwback skate 3 times that season, and there was going to be a surprise 4th game, and I don't know which game it was. So maybe it was going to be that game.
Maybe it was going to be that.
Could have been.
Could have been. And since then, the Canucks have not lost to the Dallas Stars. But tonight, the Vancouver Canucks are playing their 4th game in 6 nights. Dallas is 3-0-1 in their last 4 games at home. Like I said, Jake Ottinger isn't starting in goal, and we've already established that this Canucks team is a President's Trophy Stanley Cup favorite now. They're a wagon. I don't know.
David.
I don't know where I'm leaning on this game, but I'm leaning toward a victory. And I usually have the vibes. I'm a real big vibes guy on this show, Pat.
Yeah, vibes are always the way to base your analysis for sure.
Yeah, it's very funny because Harman, I'm trying to teach Harman how to listen to his gut, because Harman will get asked a question, be like, I have to do more research, and I'm just like, answer. And like,
yeah, but your
60% of the time, I'm right every time.
You can't make a numbers guy go by his gut. Come on.
What are you talking about?
It's a good partnership though, Harman and I, because I make Harman use his gut, and he makes me use my brain, or he tries to.
I'm not taking that one. That's
Anything
a big softball right there. I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Anything about this game that intrigues you? Anything you wanted to mention about the Stars and the
Well,
Canucks
I mean, I'm fascinated by the start. Can the Stars beat the Canucks finally? I guess is the question. I like I said, I just go back to what I said originally, which is I'm impressed. I'm always impressed by the way the Stars play, the way this lineup is humming. I mean, 18-8-4.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good team.
Yeah, that's a top team.
That's a team that there's a reason why these guys have been in the playoff in the sort of Stanley Cup mix the last 4 years. It's a strong, well-built team. A lot of underrated guys on that lineup. Like you look at the top of their scoring list. I mean, Jamie Benn having another great season. Matt Duchene is just some sort of extra player they have. Like it's so impressive to me.
39-year-old Joe Pavelski leading them in scoring.
Unstoppable. Yeah, like unstoppable. Jason Robertson, obviously everyone knows what he's about. I mean, there's a reason why the guy has gotten MVP votes the last few years. Tyler Seguin, like another, you're like, oh, right. He's, I don't think people forget about it, but you're like, right. Yet another guy in the depths. Mason Marchment, who I'm a huge fan of, actually threw a Selke vote out a couple years ago. It's a tough team. Miro Heiskanen, who everyone knows about. Wyatt Johnston, no relation, but was a really great rookie last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that has a lot at the top still. And they found some new guys in the likes of Robertson, in the likes of Johnston,
Harley,
yeah, absolutely. Like just finding guys to fill in spots, and
Stan Coven's coming.
Yeah,
they've done a
like
great job at
yeah. I mean, that's the
building
thing.
young
They got
talent.
Stan Coven.
that draft, that one draft.
Yeah, there's guys, and like their challenge getting those guys in the lineup. They've got a couple other young guys. They've got to make some cap space.
Yep.
Right. Like, what a dilemma to have. How do we get these young guys who are ripping up the AHL into the lineup? So they're a very interesting team. Scott Wedgwood is an interesting choice to start in goal. But you know what? Throw a curveball at the Canucks. See how it goes.
Yeah, we will see how it goes. See if they fare better than they have since everybody was getting their learner's permits back in 2019.
Oh,
Can we do 4 wins?
Oh God. Dude.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do our Light the Lamp contest. Brought to you by our friends at 4 Wins Brewing. I gotta make sure I get this name right. So the running joke, Patrick, is on this sponsored segment.
He doesn't change his script.
I have old
ever.
scripts. So the other day, I can't remember who they were playing, but I just bursted out, Vancouver's playing Anaheim tonight.
Yeah,
and I didn't hear the end of it for a while. So
Are they playing Anaheim tonight?
no, I've got it right. Watch this.
I thought they were playing Anaheim tonight.
No, watch this, Pat. Vancouver is playing Dallas tonight, and we want to know who's going to score the first goal for Vancouver. If you nail it, you could win a $25 gift card to the 4 Winds Tap Room located at 72nd and River Road in Delta. Enter by following us on social media. Keep an eye out for today's show clip and comment who you think will light the lamp and score the first goal tonight. Winners will be contacted directly. Check us out at Canucks Army or at Canucks Convo on Twitter, at CanucksArmy.com on Instagram, and Canucks Army on Facebook. And make sure you ask about 4 Winds Light Lager at your local liquor store or have some delivered to your front door through the online shop at 4windsbrewing.ca.
4 Winds was at my wedding. Had them at my wedding.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
Pro tip to all the people out there: if you self cater your wedding, all the stuff you pick up at BCL, you can take it back. Whatever you don't sell, get your money back. 4 Winds was one of the options. It was great. People loved it.
Everybody loves themselves some 4 Winds, including us. Who do you think is scoring the first goal for those Vancouver Canucks tonight?
Brock Besser.
Brock Besser.
I don't
going with the numbers.
Go with the numbers.
I'm going with the vibes. P.S. Suter.
Tyler Myers, because he's back in his home state.
Oh, I like it.
He doesn't really call it his home state.
Yeah, I know. But if you
Cologne
check
is
the
his home
birthplace,
state.
Yeah, he's from the state of Cologne.
State.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going with P.S. Suter, actually. I just find it interesting because he was on that goal scoring tear like right before going down with injury, and now he's playing with Elias Pettersson on the top line, and he's not really being matched up against. Come on.
No. And he's got a nose for, like, he knows he's a smart, he's your classic Swiss player, like really smart fundamentals, knows where the net is, good hands. Oh yeah,
3 points in 2 games as well for Suter.
Hey, the guy scored in tough role in Detroit and tough role in Chicago, and there's no reason to think you can't carry that on here. Yeah,
I think he's going to be a player that we talked about in the summer. I was at the Greater Vancouver Zoo when they made that acquisition. I think that's going to be a really good kind of player for them all season long, and I think somebody that's going to really benefit them once it comes to that playoff time. We were talking about center depth.
What animals were you looking at?
Oh my gosh! So I saw a giraffe.
No, when the news happened. Where were you, Dave? What was the weather like? Which way was the wind blowing?
I was walking. I had passed the Lions, and I was walking around.
While you think on that, I saw some, was it maybe in your article the other day, PJ? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but they were talking to Suter earlier in free agency, and he wanted like $3 million bucks or so.
Someone said that. It wasn't me. They waited him out.
They waited him out, and they got him for what, 1.7?
Yeah.
So
2 years.
I mean, you could
and 2 years too.
Yeah,
like,
you could sort of see that from the fact when he signed, and I think there was that sort of, you kind of had that impression. Okay, they must have, but yeah, no, credit to the Canucks. I mean, this is in the broader picture. Talking about like I mentioned this I think yesterday with S&P, but like you talk about the Zadorov, if he's going to get an extension, like, you know, he wants to get max term, but like the Canucks have a couple different examples here where they have kept themselves sort of patient and said, this is what we're going to do. And they stuck to it. Maybe they jumped the gun a little with the Kuzmenko extension.
Sure.
But even then, it was only 2 years.
Yep.
Right. It wasn't like they handed him this massive contract, which I think a previous general manager might have done.
We've talked about that so many times on this show, and I know regular listeners of our show don't want me to hear.
So I won't go on about that, but the fact,
but it's accurate. You double down on your mistakes,
No.
is what we saw from the last regime, and that, I
Yeah.
know that's not quite what you're talking about, because we're not calling Andrei Kuzmenko a mistake.
No,
and we're not calling Zadorov a mistake.
Right.
But
the like Suter is such a good example of a contract where they said, this is what we want.
Mhm.
And in the old, you know, Jim Benning literally said it, I think, with Jay Beagle and with Antoine Roussel. Like, well, that's what they want. You know, he was nervous that he wasn't going to get the player, and essentially offered what the player wanted without holding firm, thinking, oh, I won't be able to possibly get another player like this.
And we talked about this yesterday, Irf and I, about how Dakota Joshua is a great story. This manager regime has shown that they have an eye for pro scouting. Their process, which Jim Rutherford actually detailed in your story, your Q&A with him, which was fantastic. He talked about how the pro scouting department comes up with something, then they run it through the analytics department, and then they make a decision. That is fundamentally different, and in my understanding, from what the last management regime did in their process.
You know, I mean, I think it was Jonathan Bates tweeted about it. Like, he said, how nice is it to have people actually listen to? He was talking about Judd Brackett in Minnesota, but like the point stood was that, you know, that there was a staff of scouts who didn't have a whole lot of input. And the pro scouts, you know, that they basically had to be given a chance to work here. And quite clearly, the fact that, you know, they found these players is a case in point of exactly that. Like, and they've been given a chance to work. They've been given some parameters, and they've been delivering. And
what I was saying yesterday was, you need to go find the next Dakota Joshua rather than paying the Dakota Joshua. If it's going to cost, like if this guy ends up scoring 20 and he's looking for, you know, I don't know, like almost like what they did with Tyler Mott, right? Where they walked away at a certain point where they said, you know what, sorry, we know you're a fan favorite. We know we just took the job in Vancouver here, and it'd be great to have you extended, but we're not going to be able to do that contract. We're going to trade you for a 4th round pick. They have to be able to do that. And I have no doubts that they can do that with a player like Dakota Joshua. They go out, they acquire him, they develop him, where there's going to be a point where this management regime's okay with walking away from a player like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as much as you might like the player, you have to be realistic. How do we go find the next?
Yeah, exactly.
The question was, how do you find the next Tyler Mott? Well, they did that. It's Dakota Joshua. Now, how do you find the next?
Yeah,
Dakota Joshua?
Just on Suter, we were talking about the report. I know Dollywall. I think it was Dollywall that threw this out.
Who?
I think I was seeing the Flamingos at the time. But basically what he said was, around the league, it was a 1-year deal for Suter, and the Canucks eventually said, yeah, we'll do 2 years. And then that's what made it an easy decision for PS Suter. And hey, it's looking like a good contract so far for both sides.
Do you guys
we'll see?
Just quickly on Joshua, do you guys think Tocchet will be, you know, go to Alvin and be like, we can't let this guy go? Like, you have to draw the line in the sand at some point.
Might say that, but I also think Rick Tocchet really believes in his process, and I think he believes in the organization's process of developing guys as well. Like, I think Rick Tocchet, and again, not to put words in his mouth, but I think Rick Tocchet might say, yeah, go find me the next Dakota Joshua, or, you know, we might have the next Dakota Joshua down in Abbotsford.
Yeah, I'm just coming at it from the perspective that he's one of the, you know, guys on the team that has some good size and plays pretty physical.
Absolutely.
And we know how much Tocchet likes those guys, especially along the boards there.
Yeah. And look, you're probably going to have a playoff run too to see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to look away from the results that him and Garland have had.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I wrote a story about this on the weekend and talked to both of them, and it was neat listening to hear how they talk about each other. And I think with Garland, he clearly understands his own strengths so much better, and how to make himself an effective player. And Joshua recognizes, you know, he's line, he's length, you know, he can get his body in there. Garland can kind of get under you, and then who's ever playing center with them just has to be smart. And they've got a couple smart centers in Blueger and Suter who played there. So, you know, it doesn't seem that hard once you see it actually execute. But it's been a long time since we've seen an effective third line like this, and you know, I mean, you can understand why they might want to just keep the band together. But again, reminder is there that, you know, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. And credit to Ryan Johnson, because he was the one who found Joshua the year. Was it one of the COVID years when they had to share their AHL team with the
St. Louis.
Blues?
That's a great contribution. Great.
Well,
That's
I mean,
actually a
it's
really good point.
That's an amazing story. That's fine. You know, that is making lemonade, right? Like that season was was bananas. And like Ryan Johnson was left to run this team basically on an island because they had to go across the border. They weren't really any hope of any of those guys getting called up. I mean, there were a couple obviously roster moves that did happen once they changed the quarantine rules a little bit, but like he was sent off. There was basically there was almost no funding for that team. They did this combined rostering thing with St. Louis and a mostly staffing thing from St. Louis. Like it was this weird mix of guys. And yeah, like for him to keep his head up and be like, okay, pressing on, and to say, I really like this kid. This is a really interesting player, and keep notes. I mean, that is to their credit. I mean, you look also down the road. I mean, Ryan Johnson is a guy that wanted to do more. I think it's always been clear to me in hindsight. He wanted to do more than what was possible there. There were just too many hats, too many things. He's being asked to do too many things. He wanted to do more for players. That's what they're doing now in Abbotsford. Right.
Yeah, and now he is the title assistant to the general manager.
And in just on your point, you said maybe the next Dakota Joshua is in Abbotsford. Well, that's exactly it, right?
Yep.
Like that is what is happening now. That was the talk for the longest time: draft and develop, but there wasn't any development going on.
For sure,
there was nothing happening. But now we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of interesting sort of lower end prospects in Abbotsford, right? And being realistic, most of those guys still aren't going to make it, but it's certainly better than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Undoubtedly. And with Ryan Johnson, almost every time we have an Abbotsford player on, you ask about it. First of all, they get glowing reviews, but I can't remember who it was. I think it was Willanen. I shouldn't say I know for sure. But that player, whoever it was, came on and basically said, yeah, in my opinion, Ryan Johnson could be an NHL GM whenever he wants to. Like if he wanted to be an NHL GM right now, he probably could be one.
Well, it's another thing you notice anytime I talk to him. The comfort level he has in explaining what they do and what's going on.
He's a sharp guy.
He's a really sharp guy. He's seen a lot, and I think he seems like a guy who's become very conscious of, what works and also being conscious of what doesn't work and zoning in on how to make things better and how to keep your players involved. And it's a cross organizational thing right now. I go back to that story I wrote about Adam Foote a few weeks ago, and Foote talked a lot about realizing, in education they call it student-centered learning, right? But it's the same thing for these guys. Like their whole lives they're used to knowing what's going on around them, having an understanding of the process they're in the middle of. And it's very clear to me that Johnson gets that. Like,
for sure.
Talks so much about the players needing to know what the point is. Why am I doing this? What's the point? What do I get out of this? Where am I going to get to if I do this?
The Ian Clark School of Coaching.
He lasted through the regime change too, which you don't often see.
Yeah. But it speaks to exactly that, right? Like Jim Rutherford showed up, was kind of handed, okay, here's who's left. And if you remember that first season, he talked endlessly about how important Ryan was. Ryan and Stan Smeal were their kind of institutional knowledge, and they didn't have a cap guy, right? Like Jonathan Wall and Chris Gear were let go. They had been the cap guys, and how to do recalls. Like Ryan Johnson at least knew the process from the AHL side, right? And he had to step in. And if you don't forget, like almost right away, the Canucks, the whole league, I mean, Omicron comes in, right? The whole league is now dealing with the whole new COVID crisis. And he had to do a lot of managing through all that and figuring things out and did a lot of legwork in the early days for this current regime. I mean, he's and has carried on with that. Like he is rightly considered one of the key guys there.
Yeah. And just one thing that I always remember about Ryan Johnson is one time he did an interview with Faber.
Who?
Yeah, I know. I don't know if Faber's gonna love me telling this story, but it's okay. They work together now.
Yeah.
They'll have a good laugh about it, I'm sure. But it was more so me that noticed it. But Ryan had a quote where he was like, he's an intense guy, right? And he was talking about how, the benefits of meeting people face to face. And he's like, I want to see the whites of a man's eye. And we were like, jeez, dude. Okay, all right. Anyways.
But the funny thing is that Ryan isn't. He is, but he isn't. Like he wants that. Like he's using that because he wants to see the person.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a
just
fun
very
quote.
intense the way
It's
he
a
said
very
it.
intense quote of someone who's like, I think, a very caring, compassionate person who wants to win, right? But not a guy that's like kind of fire and brimstone.
But also,
are you a man?
yeah, but let's remember the player Ryan Johnston too. Like the dude used to eat pucks
Yeah.
on the penalty kill. Like he was a
Yeah.
proficient
Yeah.
penalty killer.
How would you remember these things, David? You were
YouTube exists, man. I go back and I watch my Coco Melon and my 2011
There you go,
highlights.
buddy.
All that I need.
This must be so many Ryan Johnson shot blocking videos
It's
on
nuts.
YouTube, eh?
That's right. So many
It's
compilations.
all he did.
Yeah. Uploaded by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay. Yeah, this turned out to be a bit of a longer episode than we hoped for on a game day. But with that, let's get to our Betway bet of the day. I'm feeling it tonight, folks. I'm a vibes guy. The Vancouver Canucks to win tonight against since 2019. The Dallas Stars have not won a game against those Vancouver Canucks since 2019.
I'm surprised the line's this high, especially with Demko versus Wedgwood in goal.
2019, the year everybody had to start wearing deodorant
What?
because he hit puberty. Anyways,
Oh,
bad jokes with quads. $10 bet over on
Grady, I'm not
Betway
coming back.
at plus 120 odds.
me neither.
Returns you $22 over at Betway. It must be 90 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. Grady, you've got some new responsibilities as we close out the show here. You've got a puppy. How did the first night go? The people want to know.
Well, I didn't sleep
Yeah.
and kind of drifted in and out. Caffeine has fueled me through the day today. I'm gonna hustle and bustle to get out of here, and we'll probably fall asleep during the second period or so. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
she's we thought we were getting a male. Turns out we got a female. It's a basset hound. We have decided on a name. It's Matilda, but we're gonna call her Tilly.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
We might have to get a camera set up at my condo, and we can.
Oh,
we can
Tilly
replace,
cams.
yeah, Tilly
That's
cam
right.
and Bert cam.
Yeah, the Bert
Coming
cams.
soon to
the
Canucks conversation.
Bert cams were very popular when Bert was a puppy, and now there's no Bert cams because Bert doesn't always sleep in a crate anymore because he's grown up a little bit. Grown up right before my eyes. He's about to turn a year old. But anyways, Tilly and Bert will hang out at some point,
Yes.
I'm sure, and it'll be good content. Patrick, thank you for doing this, my friend. Had a lot of fun.
I had a
Thanks
good
for
time.
putting up with us,
Hey.
PJ.
Grady, anytime.
What about me anytime? Seriously, thank you for doing this, Pat. It was a lot of fun. For my guest co-host, Patrick Johnston, and our technical producer, Grady Sass, my name is Dave Gugelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation with Harman and Quads every weekday at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. And if you missed it, go check it out on your favorite podcast catcher app.